Welcome to Trudge the Road. It's sponsored by Caron Treatment Centers. Caron is a nonprofit leading provider of drug and alcohol addiction treatment with treatment facilities in Pennsylvania, Florida, Texas, and offices in Bermuda, Boston, New York, Philadelphia, and the nation's capital. That can be reached by calling 1-800-854-6023, or you can go to their website, caron.org. That's CARON.org. We're your hosts. I'm Rich, a recovered drug addict.
My name is Jerry, and I'm a sober alcoholic.
Jerry, let's start the show by you telling everybody why we do the show.
Trudge the Road is a radio program dedicated to folks like us who suffer from the disease of addiction to alcohol and to drugs. And every bit as important is family members and friends. You get sucked into the vortex of this disease, and you suffer tremendously. And our goal here is to answer some of the many questions that we know that you have, and with the good grace of the Lord above, provide a solution to this incredible dilemma, the disease of addiction.
All right, we have a couple of programming notes here before we get the show going. Jerry and the 12 Steps, DVD that is available at our website, recoveryforlifechannel.com. You could also hook up with it through our radio website, which is trudgetheroadradio.com, which is probably a lot simpler to remember considering you're listening to Trudge the Road Radio. Right. We also have a Facebook page. Just type Trudge the Road in there. It comes right up. Twitter, TTR Show is our Twitter handle, and YouTube is where you can catch prior episodes of this radio program, and you could also get them at trudgetheroadradio.com. So really, if you want to accomplish everything, just go to trudgetheroadradio.com.
It's very simple. Thank you. That's Matt, the producer back there, ladies and gentlemen. Round of applause.
We'll give him his plug right out of the gate. That way we don't have to talk to him for the rest of the show.
That sounds like a plan.
I'm kidding with you. Hey, listen, coming up, we're going to be talking to Taylor. And Taylor
he's a piece of work.
Yeah, he's a young guy. He's only 20 years old, but he's got a great story. And he was instrumental in our morning this morning as well.
Absolutely. He is a remarkable youngster. And you say that he's been sober, what, 4 or 5 years?
Right.
Which
At
is amazing.
20. He's 20.
He's 20. Yeah, so we're going to catch up on his story, but he is a remarkable young man, and I will say that. But today was unique because it's the first time that I've taken you into the belly of the beast, if you will, Rich, and just a wonderful share this morning in Detox. We're in the Northeast. And this is a street-level detox center. And the folks that Rich were talking to were both alcoholics and drug addicts. And they'd all been sober about a minute. You know, they're just actually coming out of the room. You know, they've detoxed. You know, obviously the physical symptoms are too much for them to be able to sit and carry on a conversation. So these guys have been there a couple of days. But as you could tell, they were still all experiencing some pretty severe withdrawal symptoms that you could witness. They were in a tremendous amount of pain, and we certainly do understand that pain. And that's one of the points that I tried to make is that we do. We know exactly how you feel and the torture that you're going through. If you do not have this disease, you can't understand. And then that's all right. Thank God. We wouldn't wish this on anybody. But, to let them know that we understand the pain that they're experiencing, understand it, gives us an opportunity to really make that level of communication. And that's what you did. And I'm not really, trying to kiss up or anything of that nature, but your story is very real. It's very raw. And there's a lot of pain in your story. Of course, the beauty of it is obviously who and what you are today. Your experience, strength, and hope was magnificent. But I watched as we walked in and the look on their faces. And I'm very, very familiar with this environment. I'm very familiar with it. And I watched their faces and their body language after you were through. And you see, that's where the story is really told. It's just they're just still really too sick to be able to communicate the overwhelming feelings that they are experiencing. Watch it in their body language, and you can see how you were approached and how people came up and wanted to thank you, be a part of you, and what you had to offer. And that's an incredible thing.
Well, I've had a chance to speak at some rehab centers, and I've had a chance to speak at a place where men were, for a long period of time. But this is the first time I've gone down and spoken in a detox center where, as you say, people were sober for about a minute. Mm-hmm. And when we walked in and I sat down, Jerry sat across the room from me, and everybody kind of shuffled in, and you brought donuts and coffee, which seemed to make everybody really happy.
Yeah, man, a little something, brighten up their day just a little bit and get them to something to eat. You could tell by some of these guys, and it was my case. Look at me now, I'm a pretty big fella, When I got here, I weighed 168 pounds. I weigh 50 pounds more than that now.
50?
All right. 60.
I was going to say 45.
I was going to say 30, really.
All right. Well, God bless you. You're wonderful, and they need to eat. I know a donut's not the best thing in the world, but come on, just get some good coffee,
right,
and make them feel a little bit better. And because what they don't understand is that by making a decision, their nightmare is over. That's it. By making that decision to surrender at that point where they are right now, and the solution will be offered to them. They are in the environment where the solution is, and that's what you so well articulated was your own journey, and it is one of epic proportion.
Well, after everybody got their donuts and everybody sat down, it was just a look that you would expect from somebody who maybe just came off the street and was just now detoxing for drugs, if you can somehow imagine the picture of what that was. And I was looking at you, and you kind of looked at me and said, just be cool. Just be cool. Like, I'm thinking I'm cool, but in my head, I'm thinking, this is going to be a tough room.
Oh, yeah.
Because when I speak, I like to throw humor in there and,
There's nothing funny going on in a detox center.
Exactly. So I'm thinking,
right.
If I even get these guys to smile at me.
It's going to be an accomplishment, yeah.
But as the story went on, as I was sharing my experience, strength, and hope, a couple of chuckles started, maybe from you, kind of got the ball rolling. And then, and by the end,
they all loosened up.
They all loosened up, and it really was a lot of fun to be able to share that, and it really felt good. But I got to be honest with you, my heart goes out for a lot of these guys because I was where they are, and there was a time when I was exactly where they were, and at the end, when people were kind of coming up to me and we were kind of talking, there was one guy in particular that I talked to for a little bit longer at the very end, and he was telling me that he had been out west and he had a meth addiction, much like I had.
Right.
And he said he moved to the East Coast to get away from it, but ended up on heroin and alcohol. He said he just completely switched addictions. He couldn't turn it off. And he was struggling today because he was leaving. Today was his last day at detox. And he really said he didn't have any place to live. He didn't have any place to go.
Right.
But unlike what Taylor told me, he said, there's a lot of places for him to go right now. He could go to a meeting. He could go get himself in another place where he could stay for a little bit of while.
Sober house.
But he said, you know what? This is the first coherent conversation that I've had in a week.
Wow.
When him and I were talking. So you can tell the level that these guys are at, and they have so much ahead of them. I mean, it's not easy. And when you're at that point, the hopelessness that sets in, maybe at the end of the week, you're starting to get a little glimmer of maybe I could do, maybe I could. But these guys have been in and out so long that, they when they're being honest with themselves, they're saying, I just can't do it. But
demoralized.
But the thing is, you can do it. And you can do it. You really got to want it. And I was 37 years old before I finally, the light went off in my head and I really started applying myself, and I was open and willing to use the 12 steps. I mean, 37 years old, you got Taylor coming up here, and I got nothing but admiration for this kid. He's 20 years old. I wouldn't listen to anybody when I was 20 years old. Zero.
You don't listen to anybody now.
But at one point, I had to listen to somebody. And, when it came to my sobriety, which was very important, I am a miracle. And like I told these other guys, I am a miracle, because where you're sitting now, I was sitting. And I was sitting there several times, just like you guys.
Did you take a little trip back in your head, back to that?
Oh, absolutely. You do take yourself back, and you think about the road ahead. And, for me, the spiritual awakening for me was not and this is what I was telling the guys this morning, was not just a snap. One day I woke up, and, you hear stories like that. You hear guys that woke up one day and boom, the light was on.
The burning bush, happened to Bill.
Yeah, but that didn't happen to me.
Most of us, it doesn't. We have the educational or awakening over a period of time.
And that's what happened, and it took several years, but it took, one day at a time, if I could borrow that phrase. It really was one day at a time. And then finally, I started looking back and going, oh my goodness, look how far I've come. You know what? I've come this far. I could go another day and go another day and go another day. And now, I'm this far down the road, 12 years. I can go another day. Why not go for 13, or 12 years in one day? Let's go for that. But it truly was an experience this morning. And, all I get to say to folks who may be listening to the show that's struggling, don't give up. Get yourself to a meeting, get connected with people, like-minded people that want to get sober, and
connectedness.
You can do it. And connectedness is something I brought up, and I brought this up before. Little Joe was on our show about a year ago, and he used that phrase, getting connected, connectedness, and being connected to like-minded people. And by like-minded people, not the people who are like-minded that want to get all messed up, like-minded people who want to stay sober,
Right.
who want to stay sober. And when you get with these kind of people, it really helps you as opposed to connecting with those negative influences.
Just if I could give a little plug to people who are treatment counselors, it's one of the most difficult jobs that you can ever have. I had it, and it was the closest thing to ever making me drink. It's very difficult. And if you realize, and I think you tasted that a little bit today, that in a treatment environment, generally you've got maybe 28 days to deal with someone. Well, as you can see, in the first few days, just making cognitive thought is a bit of a challenge. And my sponsor, who by trade is a physician, gave me this analogy that, as you're detoxing in those first couple of weeks, that the brain is like a camera that needs to have the film reloaded like every 5 minutes. There's a shut down, reload, take pictures, shut down, and just in the process of it's the healing process of the brain. So, in that first 2 weeks, what good can, sometimes we do when it is just so hard to make a communication just based on the physical things that are going on here right now. And then too, after you've, sobered everybody to a point where they're stable, after a couple of weeks to devour all of this information that we're going to give you, and then boom, send you out on the street. You're on your own after that. And that's why the ad continuum of recovery, structured recovery, I think to be a little bit more important than it is right now and focused on, because we do, and it's all about money, great treatment centers. And, look at me for an example. I was always the best in treatment. I did better than anybody else. I was good at two things in my life: going to treatment and throwing up. That was it. I can throw up great, and I can do real well in treatment, because it's just not, after a while, you go enough times, you pick it up. It's that walking out the door and beginning to live life on life's terms that on my own never worked. And I needed some structure, and Alcoholics Anonymous provided it if I would have taken it. And, for years I did not. And it wasn't until I was offered a program of recovery that had an ad continuum basis to it that basically held on to me till I was cooked, till I went through the 12 steps. And took a little longer than some. I was there about 18 months, but regardless, I think that, that is being addressed, that we don't need to just let you go out of treatment in 28 days, that there's got to be a plan made so that you can assimilate out of that treatment center into the recovering community and begin this journey of epic proportion as safe and as directed as possible, with sponsorship, with people in meetings, connectedness, getting connected with the recovering community before you ever walk out of that detox center, of that treatment center, or wherever.
And it should be noted that getting yourself into a meeting doesn't cost anything. It's absolutely free. And I remember, and you've probably heard this bandied about meetings at one time or another, but I used to date a girl who had been through treatment several times. Mm-hmm. And I'd said, I'd go to a meeting, but come on, man. It's like 15 miles from here, the closest meeting where we were living at the time. And she said, if there were drugs at the other end, would you go that 15 miles? Yeah, I'd walk.
Oh, yeah.
I'd walk it.
I'd find a way.
So really, it doesn't cost any money, and it truly is a life-changing experience if you're open and you're willing. And there are people there that you can get connected to that can help you as you use the word assimilate back into the
life
public.
On life's terms.
Exactly. Hey, listen, this is Trudge the Road, and Trudge the Road is sponsored by Caron Treatment Centers. Caron, a nonprofit leading provider of drug and alcohol addiction treatment. Caron specializes in men's and women's services, as well as young adult males and females, plus a relapse program and outpatient services. If you're concerned about yourself or a loved one, call 1-800-854-6023, or you can go to their website, caron.org. That's CARON.org. Coming up, Jerry is going to sit down with Taylor. He is a young man that has been clean and sober, I think, for about 4 years now. And he's
still not even old enough to drink. And he's
exactly. 20 years old. So he's got
be good.
A very compelling story. So stick around for that. That's next, right here on Trudge the Road, on the Trudge the Road Radio Network.
You're listening to Trudge the Road. Coming up, Jerry sits down with Taylor, a young 20-year-old in recovery. That's next on the Trudge the Road Radio Network.
Hi, this is Rich, your co-host for the Trudge the Road radio program. And there's a question I get all the time, and that is, how do we catch prior episodes of Trudge the Road if we miss the radio show? And it's very simple. You just go to youtube.com and in the search engine, type in, without any spaces, Trudge the Road Radio, and all our shows will come up. We also invite you to like our Facebook page, which can be found by typing Trudge the Road Radio with spaces into the search engine. And thank you from Jerry and myself for listening to Trudge the Road.
There is a new face of recovery, and you see it in the pages of Renew Magazine and at RenewEveryday.com. Renew and RenewEveryday.com are changing the face of recovery for good. Each issue is filled with positive role models, life-affirming stories, encouragement, and ideas to help any life in recovery. Whether you're already enjoying an addiction-free life, have a loved one facing his challenges, or are considering recovery, Renew and RenewEveryday.com can support and inspire you. Join us. Check out RenewEveryday.com to learn more. At Northbound Treatment Services in Newport Beach, California, we believe that treatment is the beginning of a new way of life. Our brand signifies our own commitment to help our clients find new direction and strength on their road to recovery. Our mission is simple: to assist our clients in successfully celebrating 1 year of continuous sobriety. This mission is achieved through unique treatment models, individualized treatment plans, graduated phase systems, and exceptional staff, 12-step philosophies, and a strong alumni program. The Northbound Experience focuses on effectively delivering innovative treatment. We are located in the beautiful and vibrant recovering community of Orange County, California. The Northbound Experience takes our clients beyond treatment. We are Northbound.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Trudge the Road. Trudge the Road, sponsored by Caron Treatment Centers. Caron is a nonprofit leading provider of drug and alcohol addiction treatment with wonderful treatment facilities in Pennsylvania, Florida, and Texas, offices in Bermuda, Boston, New York, Philadelphia, and the nation's capital. You can reach them by calling 800-854-6023 or by going to their website, which is caron.org. That's CARON.org. A lot of information there, and you'll find it very helpful, and they are absolutely wonderful people. Trudge the Road is a radio program dedicated to folks like myself. I'm Jerry, a sober alcoholic who suffer from the disease of addiction to alcohol and drugs, and just every bit as important. Family members and friends, you suffer tremendously as you get sucked into the vortex of this disease, and we know that you have a lot of questions, and our goal here is to answer as many of those as we possibly can, and with the grace of the good Lord above, provide a solution to this incredible dilemma, which is the disease of addiction. We like to talk to people who are in recovery, and for those who are already participating in a recovery program, it just it helps with that connectedness, making us feel so much more alive and put together now with the use of the internet all around the world, and certainly with our YouTube channel. We're very grateful for that. And we have a wonderful opportunity to talk to a young man today. Taylor is, how old are you now? 19, 20?
20. Just turned 20 last month.
Just turned 20. Man, it's amazing that you're here. You're not even old enough to legally buy a drink of alcohol, and you've been sober for how long?
September will be 4 months, or 4 years.
Yeah. 4 years.
Yep.
That's remarkable. So you were 16 years old when you got sober.
Correct.
And I got to imagine that it must have been quite a little bit of a crisis that occurred in a very short period of time to be able to have brought you to us at that early age. Am I right there?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Taylor, if you would, and we, appreciate it in advance. I know that it's difficult to talk about, what got us here, but that's what we're curious about first is what happened. And then we'll find out about what it's like now. So what happened?
I pretty much came up from a normal life. My parents did the best with what they had, separated parents, and it was just a feeling of not fitting in from a very young age. I had a brother who was 6 years older than me, but he kind of did his own thing, and I kind of felt like an only child, and it was like always I never fit in with anybody, and until I started like acting out from a very young age. I remember I took pride in how many times I got sent to the principal's office in first grade, and from a very young age, 12, 13 years old, I tried my first chemical, which was marijuana. And about a year later, I tried another substance, crack cocaine, at 13, 14 years old. And anyone that's done it, you don't try it once. It's kind of like you try it and you're hooked.
It's just almost habitual from the get-go.
Yeah, and the progression, some people it takes 20, 30 years. For me, it took a year and a half. But like when I first got high or first had a drink or whatever, the first buzz I ever felt was that moment of clarity, that moment of I can breathe, the anxiety's gone. I don't care what you think. I don't care what he thinks. I don't care what she thinks. I can finally breathe.
For the first time in your life, you're okay.
For the first time in my life. And the feeling that no counselor, no court, no judge, no center. You know, I was in all these counseling and all these places that they were trying to figure out what's wrong with Taylor. What's wrong with Taylor? And what was wrong with Taylor is I had a spiritual illness. I had this void in my soul, this big hole. I didn't know what to fill it with. And I filled it with anything that felt good. If it was candy, if it was women, if it was video games, and nothing sustained that until I tried drugs and alcohol, and that's when it took off. And very quickly, I was a very good wrestler, 8th in the nation when I was 11 years old, and I gave that all up. I traded it all in for a crack pipe and a bottle of booze. You know, I thought I could do better on my own. I started cutting people off in my life. My father, who's a very huge part of my life, I cut him out right away because he was the only type of structure I had in my life. My mom was an enabler, so I stuck close to her because she'd make it all right for me. She'd clean my messes up when I made them, you know. And from there, a lot of these people, like I have an aunt that's in the program, and I saw what took her down, but I wasn't that bad. I didn't lose my driver's license because I didn't have a driver's license.
Right.
I didn't lose my wife because I didn't have a wife.
Right.
I had nothing, and what little I had, I gave it all away. You know what I mean? I had a gift of education. I had a gift of family. I had these things that some people don't have, and I just blew them away. Because if you felt the way I felt, you'd do the same thing I'm doing too. I'm not hurting you. I'm hurting myself. Leave me alone. Let me do my thing. Give me some money. If you're not gonna give it to me, I'll steal it. And that's what I did. I stole cars. I stole from houses. You know what I mean? And that's where it took us. And from a young age, if I wanted something, I took it. You know, if you had a coloring book I wanted, it was mine. And then when I got older, it was all about money, like selling drugs. And a monkey can't sell bananas. I found that out. You know, I thought I'd become a millionaire by selling the drugs I use.
Yeah.
And
Become your own best customer.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I started owing a lot of people money, and then the robbery started, and these things that come along with drug addiction. 15 years old, guns to my face. And you know, it didn't scare me. The fear of death never scared me. And that's, as I get sober, the longer I get sober, I realize that's not
Healthy.
not at all. You know what I mean? In Philadelphia, in places where I shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
At 15 years old, looking for the next fix, getting the crap beat out of me, you know, just because I was a white kid in a black community. And that didn't scare me. That didn't turn me away. The arrest, the looking at years in jail, that stuff didn't bother me. People dying around me. When people were dying around me, I found out what type of drug they did. Get it from the same guy they got it from, because it had to be good stuff if they died off it.
Sure.
Yeah, so then I'd use the dope they used because it killed them, and the drug dealer wants to get rid of it because there's a body on it now.
Right.
And I thought this was normal for a 15-year-old kid. And it wasn't, you know.
I don't want to interrupt you here, but to explain to folks who are listening that this is the assimilation of the disease of addiction. This is how it works. It's not an effort or a reflection of your character or anything of that nature. This is the disease and what it does to us.
I'm not unique.
No, you're not.
This happens to
lots of us.
Yeah. And it's just my little story of it. And it got bad quick. I'm like 140 pounds now, and I was 89 pounds when I checked into rehab.
Louise,
and I remember my mother. I have an uncle, and he struggles with this, and he floats around all across the world, getting away from heroin. And I remember his look. He looked like Skeletor, and I always said, my mom said, you look like your uncle. And I was like, no, I don't,
Mm-hmm.
But it took me down pretty quick and made me do things a 15-year-old shouldn't be doing. I was going to die, and that didn't scare me. I was content with the feeling of death. I knew death was going to come, and that was fine.
And yeah, to so many of us, it's a welcome thought.
Yeah.
It's the end of the pain. I understand that.
If I die before I'm 18, I'll be one of the great.
Yeah. Oh,
You know what I mean?
all that insanity. It's all right. It's a horror story. There's no question about that. Not just, of course, for what you're suffering, but for the people who love you also are suffering tremendously. And we want to find out that there obviously was a miracle of some kind that took place, because you're sitting here in front of me clean and sober these years, and that's what we'll find out about next when we come back with Taylor. First, thank you for coming, little brother. I appreciate it, man. We'll be back with Taylor here in just a moment on Trudge the Road, sponsored by Caron Treatment Centers. Caron is a nonprofit leading provider of drug and alcohol addiction treatment. Caron specializes in men's and women's services, as well as young adult males and females, plus a relapse program and outpatient services. Wonderful people. Listen, if you're concerned about yourself or a loved one, call them. It's 800-854-6023, or the website is caron.org. That's CARON.org. My name is Jerry, a sober alcoholic. My friend is Taylor, and we'll be back in just a moment on Trudge the Road.
You're listening to Trudge the Road. Coming up, Jerry with part 2 of his talk with Taylor, a young 20-year-old in recovery. That's next on the Trudge the Road Radio Network.
At Northbound Treatment Services in Newport Beach, California, we believe that treatment is the beginning of a new way of life. Our brand signifies our own commitment to help our clients find new direction and strength on their road to recovery. Our mission is simple: to assist our clients in successfully celebrating 1 year of continuous sobriety. This mission is achieved through unique treatment models, individualized treatment plans, graduated phase systems, and exceptional staff, 12-step philosophies, and a strong alumni program. The Northbound Experience focuses on effectively delivering innovative treatment. We are located in the beautiful and vibrant recovering community of Orange County, California. The Northbound Experience takes our clients beyond treatment. We are Northbound.
Hi, this is Rich, your co-host for the Trudge the Road radio program, and there's a question I get all the time, and that is, how do we catch prior episodes of Trudge the Road if we miss the radio show? And it's very simple. You just go to youtube.com and in the search engine, type in, without any spaces, Trudge the Road Radio, and all our shows will come up. We also invite you to like our Facebook page, which can be found by typing Trudge the Road Radio with spaces into the search engine. And thank you from Jerry and myself for listening to Trudge the Road.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Trudge the Road on the Trudge the Road Radio Network. We are sponsored by and very grateful to the Caron Treatment Centers. Caron is a nonprofit leading provider of drug and alcohol addiction treatment. They've got wonderful treatment facilities in Pennsylvania, in Florida, and the great state of Texas. I was just down in Texas a couple of weeks ago. What wonderful people, and so hospitable in San Antonio. Also, there's offices for Caron in Bermuda, Boston, New York, Philadelphia, and the nation's capital. You can reach them by calling this number, toll-free 800-854-6023, or get some wonderful information on their website, which is caron.org. That's CARON.org. My name is Jerry. I'm one of the hosts here on Trudge the Road. I'm a sober alcoholic, and this radio program is dedicated to people like myself who suffer from the disease of addiction to alcohol and drugs. And family members, you get so sucked into the vortex of this disease that you suffer incredibly. And we realize that and acknowledge it, to know that you've got a lot of questions, and hopefully on this program we can answer some of those questions, and with the good grace of the Lord above, be able to provide some kind of a solution to this incredible dilemma, the disease of addiction. We have a guest with us today. I hope you caught the first part of Taylor's story. Taylor is 20 years old. He's been sober since he was 16, which is pretty amazing. It's very rare that you see a youngster be able to stay clean and sober. His story was one that was a heartbreaker. There's no question about that. Extremely difficult life before you could even have the privilege of driving an automobile. And I'm grateful that you're alive, because statistically, the way that you were behaving and the level of this disease that you suffer from, your chances of survival are pretty limited. You're just like me. All right, so we got you to the bottom, and now it's time to go to treatment. And this is the good part of the story. And I want you to take us, if you will, to how did you get to that treatment center? What happened there? And how did it progress and assimilate into these last few years?
All right. I woke up one morning and felt like dying. Felt like I was going to die. I was sick. A lot of us can relate to that sickness. I call it the zombie walk, taking out all the pictures in the hallway to the bathroom and realized I didn't have anything left. And I knew I was going to die if I went and got more. But I knew I was going to die if I didn't get any more.
Say that again. Say that again. Because that's really a very important thing. I know I was going to die if I got some, and I know I was going to die if I didn't get some.
I was on that fence, and I was going to die either way, and I didn't know what to do. And this is the first time in my life death scared me, and I didn't know what to feel, the feeling of death. And now I'm scared, and now I have this fear that I've been bottling up inside my whole life, the fear of anything. I was scared of everything, and now I'm scared, and I don't know what to do, so I finally show up for school for the first time in forever. I go in the office, and I say, let me talk to somebody, I'm going to kill myself. I was definitely losing it, paranoia to the max, sick. And
all of the nasty detox symptoms.
Yeah, and I don't know how I got there or what came out of my mouth at the moment, but I know my mom was in the office within 20 minutes, and now we're going over treatment places. And there's a place in Wilkes-Barre that I went to. The only reason I chose that one was because they let adolescents smoke cigarettes.
That can sometimes be a prerequisite on our behalf. Yeah.
It could have been anywhere. I didn't care. There was the only one that I could go to. And I went there, and I got up there, and I was totally messed up. I got there on a Tuesday. I talked to the lady on a Thursday, and she said, don't use anything to your best ability till you get up here, if you can. And so I go up there, and she said, did you use anything the past 48 hours? I said, no, you told me not to. But I was 3 sheets to the wind. And here's this thing. I wanted to quit. I wanted to stop. I didn't know how to do it. And I still ended up getting messed up knowing what's going to happen. And so I end up there all messed up. And they said, you didn't use anything? I said, no. And they said, all right, no, detox. And they put me in general, and I detoxed without any medication. And, I think that was the best thing for me because I felt every ounce of pain. I wanted it to hurt because the moment the hurting stops, it seems okay. And I was there for 90 days. And it was definitely like the greatest thing probably ever happened to me. It gave me I was been in there with a bunch of people. There was an old guy up there, old Vietnam vet, and he was very blunt with me and told me I'm a punk kid and I'm gonna die. I got to start listening to him. And I said, "You're in my head. You're an old man. What do you have to offer me?" And he told me that feeling of like helplessness, that walking around with no purpose, and just like walking around with a gravestone. You know what I mean? You're just dead. And that struck home in me, and I had that same feeling. Here he is. He was 40 something when he got sober, or 30 or whatever, and he had the same feeling I did at 13, 14, 15, 16.
Right.
And I was like, all right, maybe they're onto something here. I'm still a little skeptical at it. I thought there'd be a wand, and they wave a wand, and I can drink beer successfully. Mm-hmm. And I realized that's not the case. I did a little soul searching, and in 90 days, you really don't learn too much. The chemicals out of my mind and out of my body, and I have a chance now because it's completely out of my body, and they gave me something to do. I know what I have to do. If I'm going to do it or not, it's up to me when I leave the doors. And I got thrown into this thing right away. I get out, and I have a family member who's in a program, a 12-step program, and she started dragging me in meetings, and that's the important thing, the transition. A lot of these guys, like you said, you do very well in treatment.
Right.
Is the transition from treatment to the real world. And luckily, I had somebody there to do that for me, and to throw me into it. And I got into it, and it wasn't easy. I went back to school, and it was nuts, very nuts with school. People just wanted to party. I ended up dropping out of school shortly after that. I dug myself in such a hole. I had to deal with the wreckage of my past, and it wasn't good. And if I would have, I went through Excel program, nothing worked, then I would have needed to be in school until I was like 25. So I ended up dropping out and buying a motorcycle. Me and mom were just clashing heads. At this point, I have a driver's license. I'm starting to get some things. I'm staying sober. And me and mom are clashing. Me and dad are talking. And I end up moving out. It was kind of an agreement. She didn't want me in the house, and that's fine. And that was the best thing that ever happened to me. At the time, I thought it was the worst. And so I end up living with a guy in AA, and I start doing these things, and I start learning how to do dishes and laundry, and I start getting sober, and I start helping people out. I go through the 12 steps, and I'd like to say this quick. In our we have a reading in the 12 and 12 about in the first step saying some that came in here were merely alcoholics, and they were spared the last 10 or 15 years of literal hell. And that's exactly what happened to me. I got sober very young, and I got spared
years of torture.
Jail. Nothing's on my record, and I got something to live for today. I have a job. I'm employable. I'm getting married, which is nuts. Some woman actually wants to marry me. You know what I mean? And it's just wild when you say like the most wild dreams come true, and that's exactly what happened when I got sober and started doing some footwork. And today I live a life that I would never imagine. And I don't know really how it happened, what date it happened, what temperature it was, but I know just from going to meetings, getting a sponsor, working the steps, and doing the next right thing and helping the new guy out. This big thing for me is.
And I admire you for it. You're right in the middle of this thing. That's very admirable.
And that's what we have to do. Someone did it for me, so I have to do it for them.
That's how it works.
That's why I do it.
And that's what you're doing right now, all around the world at this moment. You've shared your story completely around the globe, man.
Kind of
And
scares
I'm proud
me.
of you. Don't be scared. Be grateful. Be grateful. Taylor, thank you, bro, for coming by. I'd like to check on you again, maybe in 6 months, a year, and just watch you grow here, because that's the miracle for me. That's the gift that I have, is to be able to watch people like you become angels. And I'm proud of you. All right, Taylor, again, thank you very, very much. We're very grateful for what you've done for us today here on Trudge the Road. We'll be back with Rich here in just a moment on Trudge the Road, sponsored by Caron Treatment Centers. Caron is a nonprofit leading provider of drug and alcohol addiction treatment. Caron specializes in men's and women's services, as well as young adult males and females, plus a relapse program and outpatient services. So if you're concerned about yourself or a loved one, call them 800-854-6023, or the website, which is caron.org. That's caron.org. I'll be back in just a minute with my partner, Rich, on Trudge the Road here on the Trudge the Road Radio Network.
You're listening to Trudge the Road. Coming up, Rich and Jerry discuss music and its effects on the younger generation's sociology. That's next on the Trudge the Road Radio Network.
At Northbound Treatment Services in Newport Beach, California, we believe that treatment is the beginning of a new way of life. Our brand signifies our own commitment to help our clients find new direction and strength on their road to recovery. Our mission is simple: to assist our clients in successfully celebrating 1 year of continuous sobriety. This mission is achieved through unique treatment models, individualized treatment plans, graduated phase systems, and exceptional staff, 12-step philosophies, and a strong alumni program. The Northbound Experience focuses on effectively delivering innovative treatment. We are located in the beautiful and vibrant recovering community of Orange County, California. The Northbound Experience takes our clients beyond treatment. We are Northbound.
Welcome back to Trudge the Road. It's sponsored by Caron Treatment Centers. Caron, a nonprofit leading provider of drug and alcohol addiction treatment with treatment facilities in Pennsylvania, Florida, Texas, offices in Bermuda, Boston, New York, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. They can be reached by calling 1-800-854-6023. You can go to their website, caron.org. That's CARON.org. We're about to embark on a segment about loneliness, and Jerry's sitting across from me smiling. What's going on?
Because I don't want to talk about loneliness anymore.
Oh, you've changed the...
Yeah, I changed my mind. It's what is amazing is the conversation that we were just having, and Taylor being 20 years old, and we not being 20,
Right.
and how the difference in our sociology, especially when it comes to music, was so much different, yet it was so much the same. And I'm going to take you back on a trip into to our sociology, our era.
All right. Before you go down the road, let's just introduce ourselves.
Oh, that's right.
I'm
Yeah.
Rich.
Yeah.
Just in case anybody wants to listen.
Right.
I'm Rich, a recovered drug addict.
My name is Jerry, and I'm a sober alcoholic.
All right. Go on.
And this radio program is dedicated to people like us who suffer from the disease of addiction to alcohol and drugs, and every bit as important, family members and friends. We make you crazy and insane. We're sorry. We do have some answers to the many questions that you have right here, and with the help of the good Lord above, a solution to this dilemma. Okay, back to the music. All right. Now, we were, if you will, Grateful Dead kids. That was kind of our band, and if you follow the Dead when they toured, you don't need an explanation, but it was certainly a party, a very festive occasion that was surrounded by a lot of alcohol and a lot of drugs, and specifically back in those days, hallucinogenics and a little something that the kids call now hippie crack, which was nitrous oxide in the balloons. Remember that?
Yeah.
It was nuts.
Whippets.
Yeah, whippets. And that whole era, and I'm not going to lie to you and say that I wasn't having a good time, because I was, and it was an experience, and one that, I treasure today. However, this substance was becoming more and more involved, and, 9 out of 10 people who were at that show, assimilated into a normal and healthy life, but that one me, never left the party. I was at a Grateful Dead show for the next 15 years, except Jerry and the band weren't there, And then it's amazing. We talk to Taylor, who has an incredible sense of music and the sociology of what it's like today in the young people's sociology of music and how they use drugs and alcohol. And there's some, vast differences, but the similarity of the disease and the party is almost synonymous. It really hasn't changed that much in 35 or 40 years.
What has changed, and we know this from talking to David Rotenberg, is the accessibility and the references. Back then it was implied, like In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida. We all talked about, they were in the studio and they were saying in the Garden of Eden, and the guy was drinking so much, man. He said In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida. But now all you have to do is go to YouTube. You can pop it in and boom, you can watch any video you want. You can hear any music you want, and the references in it. I mean, you got Snoop Dogg. He's all about just weed. You've got other artists that are proud of drinking the scissorp and which is the cough medicine.
Right, and just the ones with the 151 proof rum and the whiskey and things of that nature.
And that's scary because it's a glamorizing. And we could sit here and say Jimi Hendrix glamorized things too. We only know about Jimi Hendrix through rumor, and we never heard Jimi Hendrix get up on stage and say, "I just dropped 6 hits of acid and I'm going to play this song."
Right.
We just knew about his backstage activities. Artists today seem to get up and say, and I don't want to sound like that guy that's, "Get off my lawn." I don't want to sound like that, but it's a much more dangerous ground for the youth today than it was for us per se, just because it's right there. Now, there's also that other line of thinking, well, since it's there, maybe it desensitizes the kids, and they're like, whatever. I don't, I know he does that, but I don't want anything to do with that. Now, I'm the father of a boy who's 19 years old and a boy who's 22 years old. So, I mean, I've seen this. And your daughter's
pushing 30.
Your daughter's pushing 30?
She's 28, I think. Yeah, 28.
Oh, well, we'll leave her out of the equation then.
Well, listen to that music. I told you about that German stuff that just that she listens to. It's just crazy music.
Oh yeah. See, and that would be cool if it was all German music and the kids couldn't understand the words. Yes, but today,
unless they're holding like a big bottle of booze.
Yeah. I guess if the Germans are, I've got a cake over here, the Pennsylvania Dutch, and over here I've got a big bag of weed.
Yeah.
So, but I just think it's a lot more dangerous ground because of the accessibility for kids today, as they can go to YouTube, they can go to the internet. We didn't go to the internet. We didn't have an internet. We didn't have computers. It was, somebody had to turn somebody else on to this music through this person. Hey, I've got this album. You want to go home and listen to it? It was just a different time, I think.
It was just a whole lot easier for us to get away with it than it is for them to get away with it today. It really was a lot easier. And you look at music, just at art, and I'm not trying to make a comparison here because there isn't one, but it just for food for thought.
Okay.
Look at it in the world of art, the greatest musicians, the greatest actors, the greatest artists. They all, not the good one, I mean the greatest, all had a little thing in common with us. They were drug addicts and alcoholics. And, I don't know what kind of a comparison that is, except for the fact that I believe, and especially when dealing with young people, that who are you? We don't know who you are yet. We are discovering who you are not in this treatment environment or in Alcoholics Anonymous. But who am I experiencing? Who is the next Jimi Hendrix out there? Who's the next actress, film producer? Should I start calling you doctor? I mean, it's amazing to be able to witness that and know it's going to happen. And also understand that the people who it's about to happen to have no idea, because it's all the process of Alcoholics Anonymous and the spiritual journey that we take. I'll give you an example. A little black Tracy. I think I may have before. I'm not sure. Tracy and I lived on the streets together, and Tracy was a prostitute. And for those of you who've lived on the street will understand the relationships that you build are ones to watch out for each other. I watched out for her the best I could. She watched out for me, and there was a whole a million stories I could tell you. But Tracy found her way into this program about 6 months before I did, and I heard it on the streets that she was in some kind of mission or in some kind of program, and she was okay. And that's all I cared about. And little did I know that she was in the healing place for women, and that 6 months from that time I would be in the healing place for men. So it had been maybe 9 months since I had seen her, physically. And I was at a meeting at the Ice House, Louisville, Shelby Avenue and Broadway. And in walked this just beautiful, beautiful young lady. And I thought, it looks so much like Tracy. I looked a little bit further, and it was, but what was gone? The street was gone from her face. The hate was gone. The anger was gone. And those eyes were just, she used to have these mean kind of dark eyes, and they just glowed, just opened. It was just, holy moly. There is just something about that. And that's that sixth sense of the alcoholic, how we can we can't read people. It's just we got that sense when we're in when we're in trouble, we know it.
Right.
And when we're around something good, I think that we really experience it. And she just, white boy, that was my name on the street. And Tracy, I couldn't believe it. And we got talking, and she was telling me what she had been through at this program. Again, she's about 6 months ahead of me. And I said, well, what are your plans? What do you want to do in the future? And she said, I'm asking God to help me get a GED. That's what she wanted. That was her request. God help me get a GED. And this is how wonderful God is, and how, he treats us so well if we'll just do a couple of things for him in return, like help another alcoholic. And he helped her get a GED. Again, this is 25 years ago. And I'll help you get just a little bit more, Tracy, because I love you. And if you want that GED, I'm going to do one better for you. And that was 25 years ago, and she did get a little bit more education. And a real nice man gave her a job a couple of years ago, and that real nice man's name is Barack Obama. And she's a practicing U.S. attorney.
Wow.
Came from the street. I mean, she was little black Tracy, the hooker on Colfax, man. And look at her now. And it's so amazing to see that face that I was telling you about, because now Tracy has gray hair, but she still has those eyes. And she has that level of sensitivity, this incredible level of intelligence, yet she absolutely understands the pain that we feel if you live on the street, because she was there. She was absolutely there. President Obama did not appoint her to that position. She's there because God said so. It's as simple as that. God said so. I need somebody who is there in that position of power who absolutely understands. And that's how this thing works, and how our spiritual approach to a recovery from this disease affects all of sociology.
Well, it's also a great story of redemption and recovery, and
all she wanted was a GED.
I feel good about how my sobriety has gotten me here.
Dude, you live behind a dumpster, and now you're hosting a national radio program. Oh, my God, catch on.
I get that, but Tracy's in the Obama administration.
It's quite a step.
Yeah, I mean, that didn't happen overnight. That took 26 years.
All right, well, then I've only been sober for 12. So
I will tell you this, that it was, and I remember the date. It was June 1st, 1995, when I held her hand. And she graduated from the University of Louisville School of Law, first in her class.
Wow.
First. I can feel it right now. It was just like I knew that at that moment I was part of a miracle. That I was absolutely in the middle of God's handiwork. I mean, what an experience.
Yeah, and I also got to say, what an example for anybody that thinks, you know what, there's no hope for me.
Oh, there's hope.
You know,
there is all the hope.
I told my story this morning in Detox about how, you know, I was sitting behind a dumpster and there's a broken mirror back there, and here I am hitting this glass pipe. And I was about 135 pounds because I am normally about 210. Yeah. So imagine I was emaciated, sweat was running off me, and I'm looking at myself in this mirror, and it's just hot and stinking hot and sticky, and I just said to myself, you know, you're going to die, as I looked into my reflection, and my other side said, I don't care. I really don't care. It doesn't matter, because by now I had alienated everybody, and nobody really wanted anything to do with me, and I didn't really want anything to do with anybody else. So it really didn't matter. But, you know, when you hear stories like Tracy, you say, my God, you can do this. You really can turn yourself around. Or you hear my story. You pretty much take from it, you know, when you're doing what I was doing, and you're still here years later, I am a miracle.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, in our literature, it's being called rocketed into the fourth dimension. It's that it beyond your wildest imagination. And then that's what Tracy's the example of that. And what God did for her, she did, you know, some legwork along the way. But he opened the door and helped her right through that. And that's just proof of what happens within Alcoholics Anonymous. It's because God said so. And what do we know about God? That he loves us. And what do we know about God's will for us? It's always good if we just follow along the plan. And the plan for us is laid out in 12 easy steps.
Yeah, blueprint for living. You know, I'm glad we didn't talk about loneliness. Because
I forgot all about that. I am so sorry.
I fell asleep.
No, that's fine. But
you got describing yourself a little bit earlier, you know, with the sweat and, you know, down to all this. Did you look at Matt today? He's just, man.
Thanks, bud.
You know,
I'm kidding.
So I'm glad we went down this road. It gave us a chance to kind of open up a different direction. It's not that we won't talk about loneliness coming up, because I think it's a significant topic that needs to be addressed.
This is the disease of loneliness.
And, you know, I mean, well, just telling you I was behind I was pretty lonely back there.
I could imagine behind the dumpster.
You know, I didn't have a lot going on. I didn't have a lot of people in my life at that point. So,
you mean people don't want to hang out behind dumpsters?
You'd be surprised. The people who do are really kind of different. You know? Yeah.
So we will tackle loneliness somewhere down the road. But
I'm sorry about that.
No, don't be sorry. A big thank you to Taylor for coming in and you speaking with him.
Fine young man.
I also want to remind everybody that you can catch prior episodes. I'm just going to give out one web address. That way it's simple. You can go to trudgetheroadradio.com.
And then get a copy of Jerry and the 12 Steps there if you like.
Jerry and the 12 Steps is available there. Our Twitter feed is on there. You can link up with our Facebook on there. You can catch prior episodes while you're on there. I noticed John Hyatt's episode seems to be getting quite a play out there.
What an interview, man. I'll never forget that, ever.
And Tara Connor as well, getting quite a bit of play as well. We want to thank everybody for joining us. This is Trudge the Road. It is sponsored by Caron Treatment Centers. Caron is a nonprofit leading provider of drug and alcohol addiction treatment. Caron specializes in men's and women's services, as well as young adult males and females, plus a relapse program and outpatient services. If you're concerned about yourself or a loved one, call 1-800-854-6023, or you can go to their website, caron.org. That's CARON.org. For Jerry, I'm Rich. This has been Trudge the Road on the Trudge the Road Radio Network.
You've been listening to Trudge the Road. If you'd like to catch prior episodes, you can visit our website, trudgetheroadradio.com, and keep listening for new episodes on this great radio station, which is part of the Trudge the Road Radio Network.
Thank you for listening to Trudge the Road. The opinions expressed in the show are those of myself, Jerry, my co-host, Rich, and our guests, and not necessarily those of the Caron Treatment Centers. For more information regarding the show, go to our website, trudgetheroadradio.com.